Today, who are the Drunken Disorderly podcast brought to you by Dre not being ready.
We are not live, are we? You dick.
I'm a dick.
He waited for you to leave so he could do that.
Yep.
God damn it.
That's funny as shit.
I am that asshole.
That's proof that Zach's a dick.
Yeah, I mean, I've never denied it.
That's true. That's true. To your credit, you never have.
So
You
everyone,
embrace that.
seriously, if you did not watch our Drunken Dragons stream last night, we did our first week one of D&D on D&D, and it was wonderful, and we had really good turnout, but we're not going to put that on Facebook because we want you to go to our Twitch because we need 21 more follows so that we can get affiliate. And then everyone can give us their Twitch Prime subscriptions for free, and we can make money and start going to conventions. And like, we were kind of invited to the Big Yow convention, but one, I don't think it's going to be legal to do that yet, and two, we're broke. Except for Dre. Dre's got a lot of money. Dre's basically. Who done it?
Dre's basically what?
Basically, the kingpin of Omaha.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my
shut
God,
up.
the kingpin of Omaha.
So I go to fucking the grocery store today in Omaha. It's great. Hy-Vee's got fucking stickers on the floor. You're supposed to go every other aisle, which is literally
one
impossible.
word.
It's literally impossible, especially like in the liquor department that's this big.
What the fuck are you supposed to do if you're dyslexic any fucking way?
So I'm trying to just fucking leave the liquor department, and this bitch with the mask on, I can tell she's giving me attitude under the mask, standing in the way, like literally in the way. There's no other way out of there. Just giving me attitude. And I'm like, what? And she's just looking at the floor, and I'm like, yeah, I realize that, but you're also standing in the only way out of here. Can you move your fat fucking ass?
Dude, nah, it would have been a stare down. You know, like when you're in a parking lot and another car's got you kind of fucking trapped and you're just waiting for somebody to move. Parking lot chicken. We're going to play that shit in the grocery store. Where did she go?
I would have just
my weed bag.
I would have just gone past her, but I was trying to be nice because
Dude.
I had a cart, she had no cart. I would have just gone. I mean, but you know, she obviously, then I get home and I'm carrying all these bags and I go to the elevator and this couple with a baby in a stroller carrying nothing is like, do you care if we go for alone? And
Yes,
I'm like,
yes, I fucking do.
fuck
Yeah.
you. The whole reason we have an elevator is for people carrying a whole shitload of shit. They don't have to carry it. Oh my God, you fucking cunts. So I started coughing really loud after they got in the elevator.
Dick move,
Dude,
bro.
there are good things going on with this bullshit quarantine.
I'm just over
If you could
people.
scare people,
Not
you can scare
quarantine.
people by coughing, yeah.
You can, and I scored an ounce and a half for $140.
Oh, nice. You know,
Because
I'm
the
really
dispensaries are all
glad.
having great sales.
I'm really glad to hear that because I'm hearing a lot about people in small towns getting just ripped the fuck off, and I hate.
Man,
to
they
hear
need to
that.
give me a call because there are deals to be had. And I got a free roll of toilet paper. Again, I love this dispensary. Every time I buy weed, they give me toilet paper.
That's
And right now, look, right now, toilet paper is worth more than oil. So that shit really
Right?
is gold.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, everything is. I said,
Everything.
when I saw the oil prices, I said, I'll take 1 billion barrels. And it turns out, because you know, I thought you could go and it's like if you go and pump gas and it just starts spitting money at you while you're pumping it. Turns out, no, you have to also have a place to store it and to pick it up. So you actually still lose money, but you do get a lot of oil that no one wants. So
I mean, it was
Well,
amazing.
see, I
to
got-
fill up my SUV for $22. Like,
Look,
what?
I got all kinds of text messages and DMs going, hey, do you have a way to store oil on your property? No, dude, I don't. But if you want to build one, I'm 12 miles from Cushing. It's not going to cost you shit to have that shit moved over here. I'll give you 3 acres of storage space, but I want 10% of the final profit. And I think that's low.
That's fair.
I mean, that's
Sure.
fair, but that could mean right now that you end up having to pay 10% because it's worth negative.
Well, it depends on how long you hold on to it.
That's true. That is true. That's actually true. Yeah.
I mean, plus, if this shit hits the fan, it wouldn't be bad to have all that crude oil in my backyard.
If once you can refine it, yeah.
definitely.
Even if I can't refine it, it's flammable.
That's
That's
true.
a weapon.
It is a weapon. You would have you'd have several barrels of weaponry.
Is it crude? Like, it's flammable, but isn't it actually fairly difficult to get it to light?
Well, it depends on what you use. My suggestion would be drop some tannerite in that bitch and shoot the barrel. But that's me.
That's not gonna catch on fire. That's gonna blow like a nuclear bomb size.
That'll work if there's a tank coming at you. I mean, fuck. I'm 5 years away from finishing my bunker. I need something.
Oh,
That would definitely be something.
It's tannerite and crude oil or claymores. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a don't fuck with me insurance. Like,
Right.
if you have that set up, and that's a kind of profit in a way, is that no one will ever visit you.
It's peaceful.
That's a really good point. Like, I am probably the best during this difficult time that we're all in, because my only regret is that I can't go listen to my friends do comedy on Saturday nights. Otherwise, this is perfect for me.
Yeah, no, I said I'm an internet libertarian. We've been practicing for social distancing our entire lives, and now it's finally come true. You know, we're fiscally conservative and socially distancing. So.
I am not one of those. I'm out 5 nights a week, literally. If it's not comedy, it's to somebody's house or to comedy or the bar or something. Jesus.
I'm essential. So fuck y'all. I have to go out.
Oh, I'm not even worried about work. I've been retired for almost 4 years. I'm more thinking about like being able to do things. But
Oh, if I didn't have to go anywhere, I wouldn't.
Where
Yeah,
are you
no.
retired from?
I sold my website design company in 2017.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You miss it?
Do I miss? No, at all. Not even remotely. Do I miss owning a business? No. I mean, it's funny because I'm doing this campaigning right now, and it's all online. So instead of, traveling to different conventions and stuff, I'm just online all the time. And so I'm the busiest now that I've been since I sold the business, but now I'm doing something that I love, which is talking about, freedom and self-ownership and non-aggression and liberty and all of that stuff, as opposed to then when I was, convincing businesses that I was the best person to go with for them, and then having to, make websites, or really towards the end, I wasn't really doing most of the work. I was kind of subletting to or outsourcing to others, but managing all of that, making it come together, I do not miss that at all. I mean, the money was fun, but the actual working, no, not even remotely. I am very much enjoying retired life.
I think sometimes when we talk about non-aggression, especially to non-libertarians, they make some really glaring assumptions that aren't always true, right? They assume that we're all pacifists, and there certainly are pacifists within the party,
Right.
but clearly not all of us are, right? They assume that nobody believes in self-defense, and that's not the case either. How do you think we could message on that in a way that's stronger, in a way that makes that definition real clear from the beginning?
I think that the most important thing is to explain the concept behind non-aggression. So if I just say, I believe in the non-aggression principle, that sounds, if someone who's not well-versed in that would sound like I'm saying, none of us should hurt each other ever, which it is what it's saying, but it doesn't really explain the whole thing. I tend to explain more the self-ownership side. So if someone asks me, if someone gives me, time to give an elevator speech of saying, what is libertarianism? I say, we believe that you own yourself, you own your life, you own your body, you own your labor, and you own the product of your labor, which is your property, and that you have a right to the exclusive ownership and enjoyment of these things, and that someone can only take these things from you if you have chosen to give them to them, whether it's in exchange for something or just because you want to give it to them, that you can't no one can take from you. That doing that is inherently an act of aggression, and that you should be able to defend yourself against that aggression, that any force against that force is inherently correct and okay to do. And if anything, you have an obligation to do it. And that those who would take from you, that's wrong for them to do it, that's an act of aggression, even if they call themselves the government, even if they sign fancy sheets of paper that they claim give them the authorization to do that to you, even if they put shiny pieces of metal on other people and tell them to do it for them. that's still wrong. It's still an act of aggression, and that as libertarians we reject all of those forms of aggression. But doing it from that standpoint gets rid of the idea that we're and like you said, there are pacifists within the movement.
Sure, lots of them.
Yeah, and that's fine. But I'm not one of them.
Nope.
I think that you're never going to. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think you're ever going to get rid of the inherent nature of at least many of us to take from others, even if it's not in a violent taking way, to take by fraud or to take by deception. There's always going to be people that are going to try to take advantage of others, and in that situation, they or someone on their behalf should be able to defend them. But that's I think if you start with self-ownership, that makes it easier to explain.
So our fan here, I don't know which one this is. It's the natural man. Yes, I would say this is the result of hundreds of thousands to millions of years of human evolution. Just right. Human, like the parts of evolution that led to humanity. Even like it's always been a struggle for resources, and even though the four of us probably don't struggle for resources like in the old days.
Dude, I farm. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, like, you don't have... Your survival isn't necessarily based on you being able to go raid the tribe next door because you had a bad summer.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Is Maverick. Okay, what's up, Maverick?
Yeah, and to Laura's thing, no, man, I could never be the next Joe Exotic. Even without being able to go into the salon and get my hair done, I could never pull off that funky ass fucking mullet. I didn't survive being married to one person. That's why I'm single again. But three, fuck that shit. Three the same sex as me. I love you ladies, but fuck no. I'm not marrying three of you.
On the ownership of property, as I understand it, a libertarian might say, this is my property. I can do with it what I want. But if what they want to do is sink a fracking well in their property, this would be a violation of the non-aggression principle.
Right.
Anyone agree or disagree?
Well, ish. I'm going to say ish.
Ish.
I think that somebody has a media understanding of fracking. So, like, number one, you can only frack where there's shale. So if they don't have shale, it's not a fracking well. It would be a horizontal well versus a vertical well, not a fracking well. And the issue with fracking, it isn't necessarily from the fracking. It's from the wastewater injection wells. That's what causes the earthquakes. And I'm saying that to you as somebody who lives in oil country and in a state that has now surpassed California for annual earthquakes because of wastewater injection sites.
Who's the young? Are you talking about me talking about millions of years of human evolution as a young earther?
Yeah, I'm not sure who they're talking about.
A young earther?
I had to plug in my fucking...
You should have said billions.
So...
Well, I mean, yeah, there's billions of years of evolution. I'm talking about like where you start definitely seeing, hey, that looks human-ish.
Yeah, looks human-like, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Freaking young earther.
I guess.
Yeah.
Zach, do you subscribe to that whole the Earth's only 6,000 years old stuff? Because to me, that's a young earther.
It sounded like you said. It sounded like you said hundreds of years of human evolution.
Oh, he's talking about Eric Beasley's comment about 6,500 years.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you can call Eric whatever you want. We don't care.
I think he's kidding.
Eric isn't kidding. Fuck Eric.
Yeah, call Eric whatever you want. That's okay.
So Eric fucked my game last night. Like
you should have known better. You should have known
10
better.
Weeks of game planned, and Eric and Noah, who's also a fuckboy, come up out of the well that they're in, murk the mercenary captain, take over his band, and cut 3 weeks of game out.
You should have known better.
Is this the D&D on D&D?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's a Monday night thing I'm not involved in whatsoever because I
Dude,
have no
I
idea.
love
So you're as lost as me right now.
Yes. Totally
okay, good. Because right now I'm just like,
look,
like I went to keggers in high school. I didn't know.
Look, I love Eric, but Eric will fuck up Christmas just because he can.
I'm learning that. I am learning that. I'm getting confused because Sci-Fi has been running Battlestar Galactica episodes which use the word fracking, but it's different than how you were using it here today. I mean, to me, fracking just sounds like someone from the East Coast saying fricking because they're trying not to say fucking.
We should do a show where we just list all the different terms for fucking.
That's more than one show.
Oh yeah, at least. We could do that for hours.
What's your favorite one, Spike?
I guess fracking probably. My favorite
He's
now.
quick.
I like
If it wasn't
shagging.
before, it's my
I've
favorite
never
now.
used it. I've never actually used it myself, really.
Girl,
But I like
Girl,
it.
I'm a frack you so hard.
You've never been fracked like this before.
Oh god.
I mean, if you're drilling for oil, it's got to be anal sex, though, right?
Ew.
Well,
Sex is sex.
I just had to make an anal joke because Dre's here.
So
she can't handle it. She can't handle butt sex.
one that we all have our cross to bear. I live in the shag dancing capital of the world. So we do a lot of shagging here. I don't, but old people do. And so, people come here and they're like, hey, I want to go where there's the shagging, and they think it's so funny that, it's called shagging because that's the way we say sex. Okay. But then they go and they turn out it's not really that funny because it's just a bunch of 80-year-olds kind of shuffling around to beach music. So it goes down. It's one of those things that starts funny and it goes downhill really fast.
It's torture sex.
What's that?
It's torture sex. Sure.
Yeah, no, that's actually probably pretty close. Yeah. And so people are all like, and then they go and they're like, this was a waste of an evening. Like we shouldn't have done this.
And you're like, dude, I tried to tell you, but what the fuck?
I tried to tell you that the strip club was going to be way better for you, but no, you wanted to go and watch the people dance on the beach to beach music, and they're, like older than your grandparents. But you're smarter than me. You're from New York, so you know what you're talking about, and I don't. But
a one-way frack. I love that our viewers are throwing in all these words for fucking. I love it.
Right. That's
shag is absolutely the best foreign one. In my opinion,
yeah,
the best foreign one.
I like all, and all the words that they have for sex and the parts and shit, like calling people knobs and things like that. I think that's fucking.
Kevin is coming in interested.
Hey,
when aren't we talking about anal? Jesus Christ, I love bringing this shit up.
You actually didn't miss anything. We went straight into that. So don't feel bad.
There's
no context whatsoever.
So one thing I want to get into that we were talking before the show about.
Here we go.
An ex of yours had a habit of collecting tattoos after. How can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because that was fucking hilarious.
Oh, man, the Oppo research has already started. Oh man, yeah, I had an ex that. Man, she's probably watching this too. I mean, there's at least a 50-50 that she's watching this.
I mean, if you don't want to go there, we don't have to go there.
Either, but she's still.
We don't have to go there if you don't want to go there.
Did she stalk your media profile?
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and say it. So she had tattoos of all of her previous boyfriends, which was very overwhelming. Because there were more than a few. And but they were all they weren't names, so that was better. It wasn't Steve and Tyrell and whatever. It was actual So what she did was she would put on an animal that they reminded her of, and so she had a squirrel and a panther and I think a baboon or something like that. And so she had all these different, a menagerie of animals across her torso and shoulder and shoulder and her legs, and it got kind of overwhelming because you're there with her in bed with the zoo that she's been with.
Right.
And so it's, you're having a kind of a weird reverse Dr. Dolittle moment. And it was just, it wasn't pleasant. And you guys had a great idea because she wanted me to do, she was like, well, what tattoo do you want? And I'm like, I'm not joining this gang of demented Muppet baby thing you have going here. I'm not doing it. And you guys had a good idea of what I should have done. And I was so overwhelmed and kind of dismayed by the whole thing. I never thought of it. But you guys had a good idea.
You should have made her tattoo with this huge dick that wrapped around all her calf and slapped all these other animals silly, man. And then the next guy would have had to look at that shit.
Yeah. And it would have been realistic too, which is the best part. So
you would have ruined her for all other men. I mean,
I just
I mean,
thought
I
like,
did,
stealing a
but-
hoodie was sufficient. Like,
So-
I didn't realize I should have been collecting weird tattoos.
So everyone in the comments, do what Chris has done and put what animal you would have been on Spike's ex-girlfriend.
yeah, what animal would you have been on Spike's ex-girlfriend? We have a llama.
Oh my
I'm
God,
thinking
Eric got
it is.
banned on Facebook Live.
A wolf. Of course he did. If anybody's going to get banned on Facebook Live, it's going to be BZ.
There was a wolf.
There was
There was a wolf.
Oh, he got to her first.
Oh, y'all know each other, huh, Top?
And he is no, he's Canadian, never mind.
Look,
Right? Maverick, you're from Canada, right? Is that
Canada.
Am I remember that correctly?
Look, just because somebody lives in Canada doesn't mean somebody who doesn't live in Canada didn't hook up with them.
I mean, it's possible, I guess.
I mean, we get a lot of tourists from Canada here, so that's not impossible.
Oh, Pokemon.
Dan Ruckus would have been a Pokemon. Okay, but then which one? Like, you got to be more specific.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of
like,
general.
For
Squirtle?
Pikachu or
That's kind of like saying an animal.
I feel like if I was going to get a Pokemon, it would have to be.
Squirtle.
No. I was always a Bulbasaur fan, so I would go Venusaur. You get covered by the 3 gems, and your name sounds like Penisaur.
Penisaur.
You should turn a Venusaur into a Penisaur and make her tattoo that shit.
I mean, they
Yeah.
have Vine Whip. You just turn the vines into dicks, and you're good.
A Snorlax, a panda. They sound cool, but they're always disappointing. Fucking A, Kevin. Oh, you guys, and y'all, Kevin's been having a rough week, so I'm glad he's here with us and having some fun and cutting back. It's been a rough week for a lot of people. The price of oil at nothing, negative nothing. That's freaky deaky, y'all.
I'm torn on that because it could go a lot of different ways.
Well, we already know what way it's going to go, right? Whoever wins the next presidency, if it's not a libertarian, is going to say, I can fix this shit by bombing brown people. And they'll be
Well,
right.
This
Oh, that's
time,
a
I
given,
think I'm starting to see the rumors of we might have to go to war with China. Jesus, fuck, that needs to not happen.
God, what a
This is
terrible-
how these
terrible
things are
idea.
dealt with. This is how depressions are dealt with. This is how how market drops like this are dealt with.
Yeah.
It's textbook. Blow some people up, start a war.
Yeah, I mean, and far be it from me to want to advocate for bombing another poor country, but I hope it's not China, because that would actually, I mean, that's something that we would, I mean, you want to talk about blowback. They're a nuclear power. So the blowback from that would be an actual blowback. Like we get blown back by the actual nuclear explosion. So not much like anyone who goes on Erin's property when
I
she
didn't
has
Right.
know
the right thing set up. Yeah.
Huh.
Like, look, it shouldn't be anybody, but we all know
No, yeah.
this is the government go-to.
This is why you have to elect me and Vermin Supreme to president, vice president. We will not bomb China or any of the other countries. That's my campaign promise to all of you.
Heaven forbid we should fix it by taking a much closer look at the EPA and their bullshit regulations and possibly building our own refineries so that we can refine this oil here versus trying to sell it to somebody else so that they can refine it so that we can purchase it back from them, because that is what we currently do.
Laura's over here promoting violence in our chat. Talking about
What are you
bombing heads.
And the alphabet boys.
Oh, I'm okay with
I
that.
think that's
Alphabet
actually
boys.
Eric just stole her phone and is now trying to get her banned too.
Look, man, I don't know that that's violence. That at some point, doesn't that become self-defense?
I have always maintained that morally speaking,
Yeah.
any violence you commit against the government is moral because they started it.
I mean, we just had
You need to go do it because you will die. They have more power than you.
right.
Or at least the enforcement mechanism of the state. Because so one time I said, not that it's a good idea or that I would advocate for anything illegal ever on the internet, but that morally it can be said that any violence against the state is inherently an act of defense. It's inherently defensive. And they were like, oh, so you could go in and shoot school teachers. And I'm like, no, let me rephrase that. Any violence against enforcement mechanisms of the state. Absolutely. Right. But no, that doesn't mean you go in and like shoot up the DMV or something like that.
So, right. Like, no. Come on.
You can even make the case for politicians because they're the ones kind of making that happen. Right. But the lady that works at the DMV is not your real enemy. Leave her.
Right.
She's working a 9 to 5 just like you.
Yeah. She's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Well, she might hurt you, but not, I mean, she's going to waste your time for a day, but that's not sufficient aggression for you to go in and bomb the DMV. So I will say, speaking on both behalf of myself and the campaign, we are anti-bombing the DMV.
No, Ben, nobody's talking about violence against the Chinese government. The Chinese government doesn't oppress us. Our government does.
I think I would like
in China.
I would like to.
If you lived in China.
If I, as a private citizen, committed violence against the Chinese government, it is defense of other and still moral.
I mean, Godspeed.
Again, I would die, so don't actually do that.
Oh, you would die painfully because the Chinese don't fuck around.
Dude, if I was going to do any like war against China, it has to be immediate naval blitzkrieg where we hit every missile facility that we know they have and ones that we suspect might be there, and pray to God that we get them all.
Dude, do you not remember the American kid? He was a high school kid, a tourist in Shanghai, spit gum on the ground and was publicly caned.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
Yeah, the Chinese don't fuck around. Like
trying to steal a banner of some sort.
That was Otto
war or something.
Yeah, war. That was in North Korea, though, right?
Beer, yeah, and that was North Korea, and he died.
Yeah, he died.
Otto Warmbier, and he died.
Yeah. I remember. I don't remember the kid in China. I remember the kid in Singapore who like he vandalized some cars or something, and they caned the hell out of him. But it doesn't surprise me that they did that in China either.
Ben, the U.S. government is the only one the rule of thumb applies to me. I have not been asked by Chinese citizens to aid in their defense, right? I believe that I have the right to defend myself or others if they request my assistance. I do not have the right to simply interject myself into their life in any way without that request. For all I know, they get off on that shit. I don't know.
So anyways, commies are commies. That's right, Laura.
I mean, that's like one of the big questions I like to ask.
Definitely in the news right now.
Yeah.
Are you guys following that shit? We're about to have a new supreme leader, I think. Spike, you should run for supreme leader.
What's that?
You should run for supreme leader of North Korea.
Supreme leader of North Korea?
Can you be vice president of the United States and supreme leader of North Korea all at the same time?
I think
if you're supreme leader, you make your own fucking rules.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I also doubt that either country's constitutions even thought to mention that. So there's a good chance that I'm probably solid for both of those things. And again, as supreme leader, who's going to stop me? Because I mean, a precedent has been set in North Korea that like anyone who would go against me, I would put into a cage with hungry dogs or whatever he used to deal with people. But yeah, he's supposedly dead or brain dead or.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's the way it's rumored. Like, you can never trust too much in the news coming out of that country, but I mean, there's apparently
he could be dead or he could be fine.
Y'all are just gonna have to ignore Ben. He clearly just wants to be argumentative. No, dude, I wasn't recently asked for shit by anybody in Hong Kong. But if they want to call me, my number's on the fucking internet.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say to Ben before we move on?
I mean, fuck.
Fuck is right.
Don't troll a troll, motherfucker. I will make you sad. God damn it. People are just stupid.
I mean,
that's clearly one thing this quarantine bullshit has showed us, right?
I was just going to say, like, if nothing else, we have learned during the quarantine that some people probably should have been sent out to catch the virus.
Are you saying
That's
we
the
need
new
to
go play in
reassess how we
traffic.
Go catch the Rona. There we go.
go catch the Rona?
Go catch. Can you go out and get the Rona for me and then just stay there? Oh man.
Oh god damn.
Yeah. Oh, for fuck's sake. No.
This
Well,
Right?
Fine. Let me deal with chat and you guys move on.
Yeah, I'm definitely ready to move the fuck on.
The best
So-
part is I'm not even looking at the chat, so you guys
Oh.
are getting like really frustrated, and I'm just sitting here like, this is great. I'm having a great time, everyone.
Oh, some people just like to cause trouble. Hey, Des.
Oh, Desiree Lindsay. Now I gotta check out
Oh.
the chat. Oh my god.
That reminds me. Who is that person?
Who,
Desiree?
Desiree Lindsay?
Yeah.
She
Are
is
you fucking kidding me?
one of the best people in the Libertarian Party.
I can't tell if I blocked her or she blocked me, but apparently I had a bad interaction at some point.
Well, it
You
was,
did. It was
probably your fault. It was probably.
I was just gonna say, if you did, it was your fault, and you should apologize.
I'm just gonna say, like, really, like, if there's a block between you two, I would probably just go ahead and especially if you don't know what happened, I would just go ahead and apologize to her. It's probably like,
I'm with Spike.
just honestly, like, she's a terrific human being. She is Vermin Supreme's campaign manager and is just one of the most amazing people that I've ever met in my life. And definitely it was your fault. I don't even know. I don't even know. I will safely go with that assumption.
I mean, look, I have my moments where I get bitchy on Facebook. It's possible.
Yeah, no, I knowing as little as I do about the situation, definitely 10 out of 10 your fault.
That's fine.
No way it isn't. But no, she's great.
You can ask my wife. It is typically my fault.
No, I know. I mean, you gave her a back.
Spike fucking went there. I love it. Des says she has no clue what happened either.
His
My
fault.
wife,
It's
my
his
wife
fault.
is backing you up. It's my fault.
That was his wife saying that.
It's his fault.
So I'm looking her up to see if I recognize her. I don't think that I do.
Oh, you're getting
If
Facebook.
you all don't know Desiree, you need to know
I mean,
Desiree.
we're friends
She's
on
amazing.
Facebook, but I don't think
You
that
don't
I-
know her. You're just friends,
Right.
but you don't
Yeah.
know her.
You need to meet her.
That's sad when like people will tell me about someone and I'm like, who? And they're like, we're friends. You're friends with him. And I'm like,
Yeah, that means
yeah, but who? Who? So I'll go and I'll be like, oh yeah, no, this person's great. I definitely am glad I'm friends with them. But yeah, no, I have no idea who they are. But no, Desiree is one of my favorite people. She's fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because she's watching me say that, but like even if you had just asked me about her offline or whatever, I would have said the same thing. She's terrific.
It is a cool name. I've always thought Desiree was cool.
Yeah.
She's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You dig her.
she's fantastic.
Super smart, super funny, super kind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I can't stand being around smarter people than me. That's why.
Oh, well, then you probably wouldn't like
That's
her then.
probably what you did. You probably saw what she was like, and you were like, "How can I ruin my relationship with this person?" And then you got your wish. You got blocked.
I mean, clearly you blocked her out of intimidation, right? Like you were like, "Fuck, she's so much
Look,
smarter than me. I can't handle it.
I can't look at this anymore.
She's too smart."
So I have moments, and I'm trying to get much better about not dropping a block hammer when this happens, where I won't get enough sleep, so I'm already in a bad mood, and then I'll get in an argument with someone that doesn't matter, and then someone else will say something not even that big of a deal normally, and at that point I'm just like, fuck everyone, block.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
going to assume
I know
that's what happened.
See, that's why I don't argue with people on the internet.
Dre, you're getting
you missed
asked what that is on your cheek.
This is a temporary.
Oh no!
Oh,
No!
Oh,
Sorry, there. Go. So
oh, here we go.
Tattoo.
it's the weeds.
Yep. Since today's the day after 420, I thought I would
You
celebrate.
know
a
what we
little.
should do with those? We should get a bunch of them. You know, the people like in every criminal movie, right? Every movie about gangbangers you're ever gonna see. Whoever has the tear is a murderer, right? One tear for every person they murdered. We need to do one sticker for every ounce we put down.
you wouldn't have any room left.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would.
What are we gonna use? Like the tiniest of dots?
A little.
Jewels. What about little green rhinestones?
You're gonna
You
put
would-
that
you
on
would
your
end up looking-
body.
We'd have to do
Yeah,
pounds.
your whole body would look.
Yeah, we'd have to do
like that.
pounds. We'd have to do pounds instead of ounces.
You'd look like that. Yeah, you'd have to do like pounds because otherwise you're gonna end up looking like that thing in the shape of water or and like it's like
Oh, God.
Like so I've been sober for 14 years, but at my peak I smoked about an ounce a day, and I'd seared like my whole face would just be tattooed with little green things if I was
little green pot leaves.
little green pot leaves all over. So I mean it's a good idea in theory. In application, we'd all really be green.
Would it be so much easier to identify our fam, man?
This just sounds like the
police, yeah.
guy
Right.
taking it
well,
like
fuck
a
them.
weird extreme.
What has been up with the extreme excruciating level of boo-looking comments
From libertarians.
from libertarians on our page?
I've had to scroll past. I can't look and read that shit. I don't know what's going on with you
We
guys.
need to make some chewing gum that tastes like boot leather because clearly there's a fucking market.
Mhm.
What again? I'm missing the comments. What are people saying?
Not on here
Oh,
right
like-
now.
Not here, it's our memes. So as our memes come up,
Oh,
the three of us
say,
are pretty anti-police.
Call
Like,
a
we're
crackhead next time.
anti-police.
Next time, call a crackhead.
Oh yeah.
Next time you see someone outside with more than 3 people gathered together, call a crackhead. Yeah,
That would be great. That's a better solution.
that would be a much better solution because the crackhead would be like, "That sounds good. You got any crack?" Like they wouldn't go and bother the people that they might go and ask them for some money. Crack. That's about the worst they do. So.
They need
The
to
people
call
would just
that.
disperse.
No,
we
that
gotta
actually
go.
would help disperse. Like, oh no, there's a crackhead. And they're like, oh.
We need to go into like every community group and be like, here is the groupings over 10 report number and put in that number for the Hall and Oates hotline. Have you guys seen that shit? It's called Calling Oates. Like you call and it's
Did you
Daryl
see
Hall and John Oates and some fucking music.
de Blasio made an app for New York City to be like,
Yeah.
take a picture of someone violating quarantine and send it to us, and the
That's
motherfucker doesn't understand the internet. If
Yeah.
you post something like that and think, I'm not going to get inundated with dick pics, you are wrong.
You are stupid.
Yeah. Like really obscure porn screenshots and stuff. But it's so, and they had to take it down. They actually had to shut that whole system down because they
Yep.
were just inundated with porn.
I'm so sad people just didn't send pictures of couches. It just seems like a missed opportunity.
For the couch auction.
Yeah, for the couch auction.
That's equally obscure. But but couches don't traumatize the police as quite the same way that like some really terrible like scat porn
See,
screens.
I don't buy that. I think a whole bunch of those cops were downloading that shit to save it into their spank bank. I think they did them favors.
Very possibly.
I mean, that's like doing a nice thing. Why are you going to do a nice thing for your oppressor?
And sparing their poor wives the violence.
Right? You're
Yeah.
saving
You
them
gotta put the
too.
doors up.
You're saving at least 40% of them from a rough time at night.
Yeah, so whenever we do a cops beat their wives meme, that one always tanks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's bad.
I'm
Yeah, we
sorry
do that.
people don't like statistics. They don't lie.
And that's 40% that admitted to it.
Right.
Exactly.
Which means it's way like 40% is the bottom. We do stuff on Muddy Waters Media constantly. That was a very shameless plug, by the way.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Of cop beating their wives memes. We go around the internet, find the absolute best of them, and we put them on there. And sure enough, well, I bet you call them if you had someone break in your house.
I'd call him to come pick up the body.
Right? Like,
Damn Skippy.
It's like give me. Like, yeah, because that's what I need after someone breaks into my house is to have someone show up several hours later and give me
With a gun. Somebody with a gun to show up
several hours later and like shoot my dog and freaking like try to blame it on a black guy walking by. That's definitely what I need right now is that. So no.
I will say you have triggered our chat a little bit, Dre. So I will say yes, statistics lie all the time.
Look,
Okay, that's great. Fine, they lie, but again, they
Yeah, in this case-
admitted to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are just the ones that got through that thick ass blue line.
Those are the ones who looked at a thing, at an actual questionnaire, and went, "Yes, I beat my wife." Like, that's a rough.
I mean, like, unless you believe 30 some odd % of them were trolling, which I don't. I mean, I suppose it's possible.
I don't.
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess anything's possible. I might start shitting gold tomorrow. It's fucking unlikely, but maybe it could happen.
Yeah, I know. I think that was a pretty solid figure there, honestly. Like, I mean, like, if you know, like, knowing how most officers that I've had to interact with, in even the best of situations, are with just the general public, and then picturing how they'd act if their wife said something cross to them after a long day of harassing everyone else. Yeah, no, I totally believe that number. I have no compelling reason not to, honestly.
I mean, yeah,
Or
Chris,
to believe it's low.
Chris, in many
or
ways,
yeah.
fundamentally, I typically agree with you. That's the first lesson from freshman stat, right? Is you can make numbers say whatever the fuck you want. But you can't make people say whatever the fuck you want unless you're using force, okay? And that's why this is different.
Yeah.
So we got a question PM'd into us. Do you believe in a flat tax?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe in a flat tax of 0% across the board for all things, sales, property. All taxation is theft. And not only is it theft, I'm going to do some campaign grandstanding now, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Not only is all taxation theft, but all taxation is regressive theft that takes it primarily from those with the least in order to expropriate it to those with the most. So even if you have a tax against corporations and the rich, if you look at how that actually plays out, the rich and the corporations simply add that tax as overhead to the cost of the goods and services that they sell and rent to consumers. So the higher of a percent of your income is spent consuming goods and services, buying and renting goods and services, the higher of a percentage of your income is de facto spent on taxes, which means all taxation is inherently regressive. The less you make, the more of it is going at the end of the day in a matter of way to the government. And so all taxation, removing any taxation that is removed is not only good, but it is disproportionately good for those with the least. So yes, I support a 0% tax across the board. If government is to exist, then it needs to prove that it is fit to exist. And the only way it can do that is by making its fees, make its services fee-based and voluntary to be opted into or out of. And if it can't be funded and opted into and out of that way, then that means that the market didn't want it, which means it's unfit to exist.
I like that my bog is the same color as my green screen. It transfers the graphic.
Yeah, I
Thank
keep
you very
seeing
fucking much.
So
love
we're gonna have to go down a comment thread here.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh, where'd it go? There. Could Spike have gotten a bigger mic? He can almost hide behind it.
I can hide behind it.
Overcompensating.
Tom Arnold is okay. So wait a second. First of all, Tom Arnold, he's upset because I'm married to his girlfriend, is the biggest problem there. So there's always a little bit of a an air of problem between us. No, Tom Arnold's he's one of my best friends. No, this mic, I'm just flexing on him with this mic. Get the biggest one I could possibly find. Big black mic.
I mean, that's just it looks like a Yeti, right?
Blue Yeti. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have one back in the Roads to Tit days.
Yeah.
Roads to Tit?
That's an inside.
I can't.
Only
God damn it.
A very select few are going to remember.
Oh, God. That's never going away. That's never going away. Oh, Spike, Chris wants to know if Tom was the wolf.
Tom would have been the bear, let's be honest.
Oh, man, and there was a bear.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So was it a different than the panda bear? Was there a grizzly bear and a panda bear on this bitch?
It was like
what kind of bear matters?
I assumed it was a Kodiak, but it could have been a grizzly. It could have been a brown bear. I didn't say they were good tattoos, but it was a dark
a
bear
panda and a big brown bear on her body.
Yeah, it was like a dark bear shape.
And a squirrel and a fucking, oh my God.
And a panther. And they were all
my
like
tattoos
some were photorealistic and some were cartoony. There was no congruence with them. It's just sad. Everyone press
Oh
it.
man, guys, be nice to each other in the chat. If you don't like another commenter, just fucking disassociate. But don't start shit in their chat. Like fuck that noise.
So I do want to talk about your campaign a little bit because
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Tom
like a week ago, it wasn't really a campaign for VP because it was just you.
It was me awaiting my coronation at the convention. Like it was
right.
Odd. Yeah.
And now you've got some company.
I do have some company. Yeah. Turns out I actually am.
Tell us why Will Sharp would be a terrible VP and why you would be better.
So I actually so this is the thing. Like I'm supposed to be expected to like go on and like explain why Larry's a terrible person, and I don't.
How do you do that?
What's that?
I said, like, how does anybody do that?
Well, that's the thing. I like Larry. Like I don't really know a lot of people. I've met some people who've made it clear to me that they don't like Larry now. Now that he's in there, like I just want you to know I hate Larry. I'm like, okay, well, thanks
Whatever
for your help.
Wow.
But no, I like Larry. I don't really have anything negative to say about him at all. The reason that I'm in this race, the reason that I got into this race primarily is because I believe that Vermin Supreme is a uniquely good pick for us in this cycle to be able to get the disaffected voters and non-voters who have given up on politics because they recognize it as the joke that it is. And they recognize that the people who are running in the two major parties are clowns. And they're not really interested in hearing people, get up and present themselves in that same so-called respectable aesthetic and say, well, I'm a good pick and I'm with this other party. And I think that Vermin and I are a unique opportunity for them to basically say fuck you to the whole system. It's like a giant okay boomer to the entire system. That was primarily why I got into this race. The second reason to get into this race was to make sure that whoever got it, if we weren't able to get Vermin over the hump, then make sure that whoever gets it is also still an actual, and I hate the term radical because we're not radicals. We're honest about our platform, and we are actual libertarians. We don't pretend that libertarianism is a scary thing that we can't tell the public about because they might get frightened away. That buys into the narrative of the Republicans and the Democrats that we are something bad that shouldn't be talked about, that we're too extreme and shouldn't be taken seriously. I think if we start playing scared pool politics from the beginning, we're immediately buying into their narrative, and they've already won from the beginning. So that was my second thing, was to make sure that at the very least, if we don't get Vermin, we get at least someone else who also is an across the board, down the line doctrinaire libertarian. I also use this campaign to do the same thing that I've been doing on Muddy Waters Media. Now that shameless plug number 2, which is spreading the message of liberty to a public that really either hasn't heard of it or has gotten some really shit takes about it so far, either from people who hate libertarianism or from libertarians who just should not talk about libertarianism outside of libertarian circles. And then number 4, in doing all of that, if people decide that in my doing that I'm the best pick for VP, then I will humbly serve. I am not a believer in the so-called pragmatic narrative, the idea that we should be pushing half-measure ideas. Instead, for example, with education, saying that we should reform the education system, rather than saying that the education system, that public education, government education, should be abolished. That that public education, quote unquote, is the act of robbing families and parents so that both of them have to go to work all day long and send their children to government indoctrination centers where they are taught to conform with a society that is designed to harm all of them. That entire system should be abolished and replaced with systems of voluntary free market education that can be custom tailored to the communities and the families and the people who want them. And that's how we should talk about education. That's how we should talk about healthcare. That's how we should talk about gun rights. That's how we should talk about immigration. If we go to the public and say, we're the best parts of the Democrats and the Republicans, or we're fiscally conservative and socially liberal. It sounds
milquetoast and watered down. And here's the deal. To Republicans, we come off as Republican light. And to Democrats, we come off as Democrat light.
Exactly.
And why the fuck would they vote for light when they can vote for full flavor? They fucking won't.
Yeah, they won't. A vote for a third-party candidate, more often than not, especially in statewide and federal elections, is an invitation to vote for a candidate who is more than likely going to lose, right?
Yep.
We already know that. Like, that is what we are asking.
It's a protest vote.
It is a protest vote with the idea that we're trying to eventually build something that is more than a protest vote. But for now, we are inviting people to what is more than likely a protest vote. Now, if I present myself to you as the best part of the two parties, I'm taking the best part of this party and the best part of that party, and I am marginally better than either one of them, I am already making them win the argument by making it sound like there are good things about those parties that you should look more into. And that I am simply a reflection of the best parts of that. I am a half measure better than those other parties. So now you as a voter have one of two choices. You can pick the party that you usually vote for, which maybe doesn't really represent your values and maybe isn't that great, but has a good likely chance of winning. Or this new exciting party that's kind of better, but has no choice of winning. That is a good way to get 1%, 2%, 3%, maybe 3.5% of, what was it, 3.25 that Gary and Bill got in the last presidential election. That is a great way to do what the Libertarian Party has done for the last 49 years, which is never win a single statewide or federal election in its entire nearly 50-year history.
And I'm going to be really fucking...
Hang on. I think our best shot of that this year is Anthony Welty. And full disclosure, I did just start working on his campaign.
Yeah.
But go check out Anthony Welty. He's running for insurance in Washington, and he's actually out. It's a one-on-one race. There's no Republican.
Yeah.
He is out fundraising the Democrats. So it's
and he's killing it. He's absolutely killing it.
And Anthony proves that there's nothing moderate about libertarianism. There is nothing moderate about libertarianism. There just isn't. I don't have a problem with pragmatism, right? I would consider myself a pragmatic radical, but I think there's a huge misconception of what pragmatism really is, right? I'm all for compromise answers, but I'll be damned if I'm going to be the one that offers the compromise.
Exactly.
I'm going to ask for the stars, and you can come back and actually give me something.
There
are too many fucking people. There are too many fucking people that think compromising means the libertarians should give and get nothing in return, and fuck that noise.
They're the ones that fucked everything up. Let them move first. If we're making a move, and if we have nothing to lose, we don't have anything to lose, why in the hell would we not use our platform and be actually honest about what we actually want and present a massive departure, a massive divergence from what the Republicrats have been doing, screwing everything up to a public that right now isn't allowed to go outside more than, a few times a day if they absolutely have to, because the government botched the containment of a highly virulent pathogen and then, allowed a handful of experts on incomplete data to tell us that we all have to stay inside our houses. What a perfect opportunity for us to offer them a radical departure from anything even resembling that, and to make them defend it. Make the Republicans and Democrats defend themselves for once, instead of us coming in and going, well, we're sort of like the Republicans and Democrats, except even better. And then when their unions and cronies come after us and go, well, what about your platform? You're saying you want to reform education, but you actually want to abolish public education. And now we're on the defensive, defending our own platform that we weren't even willing to come at people in the first place with.
Right.
How does that make this look except dishonest?
If Spike goes up and says, or I go to DSC and say, we demand that you abolish all alphabet agencies. The day that anybody in the government comes back and says, well, we could abolish these too, could that get us to the table? Fuck yes. Every one of us is going to jump to that table.
Sure.
Every one of us. We're not going to say, oh, no, man, two's not enough. We want all of them. Nobody's going to do that.
I
support pragmatism and I support incrementalism when they move.
Yep, you make them move.
I am not going to start. I ran a business for nearly 20 years. And any negotiation, if you go up starting by compromising, you've already failed. If you go up by starting using their premise instead of your own, then you've already failed. If you go in using their narrative about yourself, you've already failed. And that's what the so-called pragmatism within the Libertarian Party is. Let me tell you something. Pragmatism, you can't call something pragmatism if it never fucking works. That's not pragmatism. That's fear of change. And we need to stop. We've been doing it for far too long, and it needs to end. And this isn't an attack on any individual or any group or anything else.
Right.
It is an attack and an indictment of an idea that we should be playing scared pool politics at a time when Republicans and Democrats are holding hands and destroying everything. That's
you got to think about it. We as libertarians, we hear all the time, the Libertarian Party's been around for 41 years. Why haven't you achieved success if libertarianism is such a good idea? Well, I'll tell you why. Because we don't fucking sell libertarianism.
Thank you.
We don't. We sell some watered down bullshit stuff that is not libertarianism.
We're scared. We're scared to. We're scared that they're going to go, oh my gosh, what if they call us anarchists? Tell them we are fucking anarchists, and then tell them to get the Republicans and Democrats to explain why the state is good. Why?
Look, I promise you, if they call you an anarchist, you've been called worse by better. So what the fuck? Why do you care?
I'll tell them I'm an anarchist first.
I want to jump in for a second.
Okay.
Remind everyone that because the way our page operates, we do have fans that aren't super indoctrinated into libertarian dogma.
Okay.
So this comment, face value.
Okay.
I'm confused as to how this country will function without the agencies that you are now promoting to eliminate.
This country functioned before them.
Yep.
Yeah, and it functioned before them. And if you're talking about the country, meaning us, the people, it will function far better because it will not have the agent. Perfect example. And I'm glad that this was brought up. And I love that you asked me to be kind to your commenters because
a lot of people come here to learn. They come here to learn, and they're asking legit, honest questions.
Oh no, it's good, and I'm glad that it was asked. And I just find it funny that you were telling me to be kind. But anyway, so because I mean that's hilarious. I would love in an alternate universe. I would love to run on a platform of calling people bootlickers. But I'm definitely not going to do that for myriad reasons. But not in this timeline. Definitely not in this timeline. But no, so this is a good question. So a perfect example. We have a Centers for Disease Control, which we set up to protect us against, viruses and disease. And of course, it's now morphed into this, nightmare thing that is spending a fortune and on all sorts of things that often have nothing to do with disease or controlling them. But the original purpose was to protect us on a federal level against something that simply cannot be handled at the state level because viruses do not respect states or borders, and they go all over the country, and we have to have a national response to it. And it has to be worked within a larger World Health Organization that is coordinating with all the various national centers for disease control to stop viruses and mega bugs and whatever else to attack us.
Make us safe.
Yeah. So here's what the CDC did. COVID-19, we know existed. It's been known that it existed since at least early January, and now we're hearing it could have been as recently as November or December. But let's even say early January.
I've heard November pretty confidently.
I've heard November more and more, but let's even say early January. That's when we knew. That's when the general public knew there was this thing and that it was probably here already because of the nature of how it spread. We had doctors, one of them named Dr. Helen Chu, but many doctors in other parts of the country who were getting patients that were coming in from Wuhan, who had been to Wuhan, China, and were back here and were having the classic symptoms of COVID-19. At the time, they were just calling it the novel, the NCOV-19 or whatever. But they had the classic symptoms of COVID-19, and they came in just to, out of an abundance of caution. So they used the standards that had been set forward by the World Health Organization and created test kits and started testing these patients. And they started coming back positive. Now, here's an interesting subpart to that. They did this illegally. Do you know why they did it illegally? Because in order to test for a new virus, you have to go to the CDC and get approval. Not as an organization, each individual practitioner has to do that. And in order to get that,
you have to pay them a lot of money.
And you have to pay a fortune, and you have to wait several weeks to several months. Usually it takes, I had the draconian system explained to me. You had to send in both an email and a letter mail. You had to wait for them to receive the letter mail. They would then send you back receipt within 14 business days or something. And sometime, using the old system, sometime between June and July, they should be approving those tests. Now, keep in mind the way they said that this thing spreads. If it spread the way that they said it did, we'd all already have it by June or July, and the testing would be purposeless. And the people in the CDC who were telling them they had to wait till June or July till they got approval knew this. These are medical professionals in the CDC, but they did it anyway. They said it anyway because it said on the magic piece of paper that tells them how to do that part of their job that that's how they have to do it. And they were just doing their jobs. And so thankfully, when they went and told these doctors, you're not going to be able to test without getting this approval that's going to take months, it'll be far too late.
Thankfully, the doctors did it anyway.
Thankfully, the doctors said, no, my Hippocratic Oath is way more important than whatever stupid regulation you have in place. I'm going to test illegally. So when the test started coming back positive, which is the reason we even knew there were any cases in the US back in January, they went back to the CDC who said, okay, now destroy all of those tests and those test results and tell no one. Thankfully, those doctors, again, illegally said, no, my Hippocratic Oath matters more than your regulations. And they released it, which pressured the CDC to back off and say, okay, we're still requiring people to get approval, but you can go ahead and test in the meantime. You can provisionally be allowed to test. That's how we even started it. It took 6 weeks before they could actually begin testing legally, which meant that it took 6 weeks before they could start ramping up testing because no one's going to make a bunch of mass-produced tests that are illegal. And then the government themselves tried to make their own tests, but because of some elementary careless error, they screwed up the first batch of tests. So the reason that the US has more confirmed cases than any other country on earth is because the CDC so heavily botched everything up. And so then we now have states overcorrecting by telling everyone you have to stay inside to flatten the curve of this thing, which again, we don't even know how deadly it may or may not be. It may be spreading even way more to people and not even having symptoms. But the point of all of that.
This is what I was rolling my eyes at. Sorry.
Yes, this is real.
Where am I hearing this? This is all public. Like, this isn't helicopter stuff. Like, this is.
You can Google this pretty easily.
Yeah, no, look up Dr. Helen Chu. This is what government agencies do. They create arbitrary rulings that were decided upon by politicians who had no idea what the hell they were even doing, but are doing it based on rent-seeking lobbyists writing laws for them. And then that becomes something that is pointed at your head along with a gun that tells you how to live your life.
Well, and like, look,
if they even make a vaccine for this, what the CDC does to get a test through is nothing compared to what the FDA does to get a new medicine.
Right, and that's the thing I was going to say. The CDC also falls under FDA guidelines. So now you've got double, triple, quadruple, quintuple fucking bureaucracy involved in all of this. And if you do yourself the kindness of purchasing and reading Dr. Mary Ruart's book, Death by Regulation, she paints it, she lays it all out.
Yeah.
You need to read the book. Really, you need to read the book.
We have been conditioned to believe that agencies are set up to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
It
like
is
the fucking Department of Education. The Department of Education people did not exist until 1974.
Yep.
Okay, it was a gift from Carter.
Yep.
The year I graduated high school, the average IQ in this country was 125, which is now considered genius level, right? 92 is now the average IQ in the United States. We are fucking not better off for the Department of Education.
Yep.
We're not.
The effective literacy rate of high school graduates is actually a couple points lower now than when it was when the Department of Education was created. And so, and after however many trillions of dollars have been spent, the number of students per teacher has gone up during that time. And that was actually one of the things that they were claiming was going to change with a federal Department of Education. Now, during that time, the number of administrators per student has gone through the roof.
It's multiplied.
Yep.
It's multiplied many, many times, many orders of magnitude higher, the number of administrators who do nothing.
The link in chat, John, is for talking about Dr. Chu and the problem with the testing and
right. It's all there.
It's
and
the receipt somebody was looking for. So go click on it if you know what it is.
And so you're asking too, if we eliminate all these agencies, kind of then what, right? But look, during COVID-19, what agencies have been the ones really making the decisions that are affecting your life? Right. This is your local governments. Your mayor is making these decisions regardless of what Trump is saying. Right.
Yeah.
Governors are making these decisions regardless of what Trump is saying. Nobody needed Trump to tell them shit. They just needed accurate data, and none of this would have happened.
Which we still don't have. And many of the guidelines now, again, like Erin said, every city, every state is making their own decisions, but they are largely being made based on the guidelines being set forward and changed every day by the CDC. You know, that same organization that completely fucked our chance of actually being able to contain this thing.
Right,
So,
wear masks, don't wear masks.
Masks for 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they said wearing masks was terrible. Now they're saying you have to. There are cities that went from banning wearing face masks in public to mandating wearing face masks in public, where police officers are actually confused as to whether they should be doing it or not.
Even in states where anti-masking laws exist.
Yes,
so both laws are active at the same time. You literally cannot win.
Yeah, you are breaking the law by going outside one way or the other.
Exactly what kind of leads in, though. What is it, like how many felonies does the average American commit every day? Like, it is impossible, the way that our laws are written and the way that the administrations enforce them, for them not to be able to get you. You do something that's a felony.
And that's decided. That's intentional. Like, they want it to be that they can grab you at any time. Because if you, for example, run for vice president, they can, find something and say, yep, you broke that law. And it could be the most obscure thing that you never even knew. So it's
like the ice cream in the back pocket that should have been wiped off the books like years ago. Those weird, obscure laws.
You can't keep your donkey in your bathtub in New York City. Well, no shit.
Screwed. Oh no.
Chris was saying, this is bullshit. This means there's money behind it. It's money and power, right?
Yeah.
Like,
power is really the bigger commodity. But yeah, there's always money behind it. This is what libertarians have been saying forever. There's always money behind it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
What most people think of as capitalism, libertarians would define as crony capitalism. It's not the same thing.
That's why I don't use capitalism anymore. It's free market or something like that.
Yeah. I consider myself ideologically an ANCAP, an anarcho-capitalist, but I find myself increasingly like I don't need to die on the hill of defending the label capitalism, especially capitalism was a term founded by Marx.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm fighting to co-opt.
But even free markets, when we use free markets, we hear, well, free markets are what we have now, and look around.
Yes,
no, man,
right.
These are not free markets.
Yep.
Which is not the same thing.
Yep.
Here you go, buddy. You got to vote in Canada.
Nice. Nice. That's my wife is Canadian, so that is my first supporter in Canada.
That's his fallback. That's your fallback plan, man. You could run for prime minister.
That was good. All right. Past an hour. So pimp yourself out and let's get out of here.
And don't forget your website.
Oh, my website. Okay. Well, hey, everybody. Vote for me in the convention if we end up having one, which I think that might end up not happening. But if they don't end up just coronating whoever they feel like jumping on board at the last minute, and you have a chance to vote for who you'd like to be the next nominee for the Libertarian Party vice presidential nomination, and you're a delegate, please be sure to reach out to me because I love you and I'll do anything for you. Only if you're a delegate. And I hope to have you. If you're not a delegate, I still love you, but my love for you is marginal. But if you are a delegate, there's nothing I won't do for you and everything and everyone you care about. So be sure to vote for me for the Libertarian Party vice presidential nomination. Be sure to check me out on Twitter at Real Spike Cohen. You can check me out on Facebook if you're doing it in the old address bar, it's facebook.com/literally Spike Cohen, or you can search for me in the Facebook search for Spike Cohen, your next VP. You can check me out on spike2020.com. And you can check out Muddy Waters Media, muddywatersmedia.com, Muddy Waters Media on everything, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, the whole deal. So I'd love to hear from you. Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, Spike Cohen, Spike Cohen, Spike Cohen.
I love it.
Right. Spike's actually the last guest we have for a while. We're trying to do more of the kind of fun variety shows, but it was like that this time anyway, because Spike's a podcast.
Right.
It was a nice flow. But we'll see you all Monday for Drunken Dragons and Tuesday for the D&D podcast. See you next week, guys.
Good night.
Good night.